Hello guys, this is our 400 series Kenmore gas dryer. There is no issue with this gas dryer except that the clothes are not drying out using the hot air, and that is the issue which we are going to diagnose in this particular video. And this is going to be a step-by-step video to diagnose and solve the issue. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is no issue with this gas dryer. Clothes are spinning well, no issues with that one. There is no issue with the drum, there is no issue with the timer or setting up the cycle and everything, except the problem is that no dry air is coming out from the dryer, and because of which the clothes are only drying using the air dry, which is a problem. Now this one is a 400 series dryer, but all the dryer works on the same principle, either 400 series or 600 series or any other company dryer. Most of the time the issues with the thermal fuse or the thermostat or the dryer igniter issue or valve solenoid issue. So we are going to diagnose each and every step to make sure that where the problem is, or to identify where the problem is, and once the problem is identified, we'll fix the problem. And all these dryers issues can be fixed by spending only less than 15-20 bucks, not more than that one. So let's begin. The first step in this entire process is going to be making sure that there is no blockage. I am going to open this vent also to make sure that the vent is clean and there is no exhaust pipe blockage over there. Now, since the issue is with the hot air, what that means is that the igniter may not be working fine, and to see that whether we are getting the flame in the dryer, we have to check that using this hole. So in any dryer you will see there is an access area from where you can check whether the flame is inside the dryer or not. For that you have to just pry open this tab, and once you pry open this tab you will be able to check inside whether you could see the flame or not. And for that you have to run the dryer. So let me pry open that tab and run a small cycle to see that whether we see the flame inside the dryer. So to check the flame, I am pry opening this tab using the flathead screwdriver, and as you see, as soon as I remove that one, you have the access hole. Right now you cannot see, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the cycle and see that whether we see the flame inside this igniter. Now let's run 2-minute cycle to see that whether we see the flame inside my chamber. So let's start this one and go at the bottom and see from the hole. And as you see, we should see within 15 seconds, 20 seconds, there should be flame. Yep. And there is a flame, which is a good sign. That means there is no problem with the flame or the gas valve. It is just some fuse or thermostat is gone bad. And as we have already identified and diagnosed that the flame is not an issue, now what we are going to do is we are going to check the thermal fuse, we are going to check the thermostat and see that what is the issue. Is any one of those thermostat or the thermal fuse is gone bad? For that we have to open the dryer from the back side. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this dryer away from the wall. Make sure that you plug off or switch off the powers coming to the dryer and shut off the gas coming to the dryer before working on anything. So I'm going to create some space over here so that I can open the back panel of this dryer to access the area where the thermal fuse and the thermostats are located. And as I mentioned earlier, before working on the dryer, First remove the power, or switch off the power line, and shut off the gas valve. Over here, this is the gas valve, and shut off the gas valve. And now once this is done, I'm going to first remove this duct which is going outside the house. This is exhaust duct coming out from the dryer. I'm just going to remove this one using the nut driver. I think it is a 1/4 inch nut driver. Will allow us to remove this from here. Once this is removed, I'm going to inspect this entire duct to make sure that there is no clog or anything is there inside this duct. And at the same time, I'm going to blow the dust from this to all the way to the outside of the home, so that there is no blockage in the exhaust. So that is the first step which I'm going to do. And once that is done, we have to remove this entire back panel. As you see over here, this is the back panel. We have to remove this back panel to get the access to the thermostat and other things which I already mentioned to you. So for that also, we have to remove these screws, these nuts, using the nut driver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll show you those. But first thing first, and that is removing this duct and making sure that it is not clogged. And inside the duct, I don't see not much blockage. I'm just going to vacuum this one to make sure that this is also cleaned very nicely, since we are servicing this entire dryer. But otherwise, if this is blocked, then that is one of the thing which you should do it first thing, that basically cleaning the entire duct. And not only the duct connected to the outside, but all the way to outside from the dryer vent. So this dryer vent duct is not that bad. Now we have to remove this back panel, and for that we have to remove these nuts, and these are like total 9 of them. On each side 3, 1, 2 and 3, and same thing on the other side also, 1, 2 and 3, so total 6. And then on the top over here there are 3 of them, 1, 2 and 3. I'll remove that and lift this back panel to get the access to the all the thermostat and other items which we have to inspect. And for this I am using this 1/4 inch nut, and it is very simple. It doesn't take more than a couple of minutes to remove all these nuts, and then we will be able to inspect all the parts of the dryer. And all the 9 screws have been removed, and now I am able to remove this back panel without any issue. As you see, this is how it will look inside. This is to cover the electrical outlet, so I'm just going to keep this here, or if you want you can just remove also. And this is how the back panel looks. Nothing fancy about that one. Once you remove the back panel, you will be able to see the entire this dryer with the thermal fuse, thermostats, dryer igniter and all those things. I'm going to go over those in detail, but this is how it looks. Now there is a lot of, I don't know whether you could see, a lot of dust is over there over the period of time, so I'm going to just vacuum this part so that it looks very clean, and then we'll start inspecting each of these thermostats. Right, as you see over here, these are the thermostat, 2 of them near the thermal fuse. Then there is a there are few of them over here. Then this is a thermal fuse and so on. So I'll go over each one of them in details, and we'll test this out to see that which one has gone bad. So most of the time the culprit is basically this thermal fuse. So we have to just first check whether the thermal fuse is good or not. For that we should first remove these two prongs. These are attached. I am using the pinches or some plier. I'm going to remove these two and then remove this thermal fuse and check for the continuity whether this thermal fuse is in good standing condition or not. Once this is done, I'm going to check this thermostat. This is a 4 crank thermostat, and then I'm going to check these two thermostats, and if nothing is wrong with this one, then we have to go and dig further into to see that whether it is something to do with the solenoid valve or dryer igniter issue. But 99.99% times either one of these thermostats has gone bad, or thermal fuse or this thermostat. So let's start with the thermal fuse first, and for that I'm just going to remove these connectors. These are pretty tight, and they have to be used. We have to use some kind of a plier to take them out. And once they are done, we'll use the multimeter. I have this multimeter, which is X-Tech. You could use any multimeter. Set it to the continuity setting, that is this one. So the way it works is that if there is a continuity, when you connect these prongs, it will make a sound. So it shows that there is a continuity. If there is no sound, that means something is wrong. So in our case, to check this thermal fuse, we have to remove these two wires and then connect or touch these two prongs of the multimeter to this thermal fuse to see that whether we get the continuity. If we get the continuity, that means this thermal fuse is good. If no sound, that means this thermal fuse is gone bad. So let me remove this wire and I will show you how exactly. And we are getting the continuity in the thermal fuse, so there is no problem with the thermal fuse. So now next step is going to be checking this thermostat. So let me, since there is no issue with the thermal fuse, I'm going to reconnect these wires the way they were earlier. So it's very simple. Just the way we removed it, we have to just attach those wires and push them, and they will be attached to that thermal fuse. Now to check this thermostat, I'm going to remove this wire and this wire, both the red wires, using the plier, and then check the continuity between these two ends using the prongs and see that whether there is any issue with this thermostat. So remove those two wires, and now let's check the continuity on this thermostat, see that whether this one is good or this one is also gone bad, and this one is gone bad, and that's it. So this thermostat also has no issue. So that means now we have to focus on these two thermostat to see that whether the issue is over here. So I'm checking now these two thermostats. For that, first I'm starting with the low bottom one, and for that I'm just first removing these two wires so that we can use the prong of the multimeter to check these thermostats. Just wiggle it and it will come out. So now I've removed both the wires, this wire and this wire, from this lower bottom thermostat, and I'm just going to check the continuity using the multimeter. And as you see, this thermostat is also good. So there is a continuity in the thermostat, so no issue with this thermostat, at least the bottom one. So now let's close this one and go for the top one. So for the top one also, I'm going to do the same thing, remove these wires and check the continuity for the top one. So you have to just wiggle these wires. It took me a while and it will come out once it is done. Once it is removed, check for the continuity in the this guy. And in our case, these thermostat, this particular thermostat, the top one is in good standing condition. So that means our issue is somewhere else. Either the solenoid valve is gone bad or something else. So now we have to go one step further. Now on the back side of the panel, we have already checked the thermal fuse, which is in good condition. Then we have already checked the thermostats. This thermostat we checked, these two thermostats we checked. So everything looks good on the back side. Now what this means, 99.99%, as I mentioned earlier, these things will go bad. But if this is not the case, then probably the dryer igniter issue, or it's a gas valve solenoid issue, or the radiant flamer sensor has gone bad. So now to check dryer igniter, check the gas valve solenoid and the radiant flame sensor, we have to open the front panel of the dryer, not the back panel of the panel, but the front panel of the dryer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this panel, because now we know that nothing wrong on the back side of this dryer, but anything things are gone bad on the front side, that is dryer igniter or gas valve solenoid or a radiant flame sensor. So I'm calling this as a step 2. Step 1 is backside check of the panel, and the step 2 is basically the front side checks. So now 2 screws are removed. So just lift this panel, and if you're not able to, that means there is some hook over here which is preventing it from lifting. So you have to just take the flathead screwdriver and press that lever. You have to just see that where it is, and that's it, and you will be able to lift this panel. So this is the lever which was preventing it from getting lifted. So now you have the access to the drum and interior. Now behind this front panel there are two screws. One is over here, if you see, this one, and one on the other side, that is this one. So once you remove these two screws, you will be able to lift this front panel without any issue. Now since I have restricted place, I'm not able to hold this up. So the easiest way is basically you just keep some support over here like this so that it won't fall down, or take the hook and attach it over here so that it won't fall on you. So let me do the setup and remove the two screws from the back panel of the front panel, and I'll show you how exactly it looks. So I use the elastic rope to just hook this or keep this top panel like this so that I have the proper access to the entire interior of the dryer. So now if I show you, this is the screw which I was talking about. This you have to remove, and then there is one more is here. This you have to remove. Once you remove, disengage this wire harness and lift this panel and it will come out. So I'm using the 5x16 adapter to remove those screws, and this adapter will allow me to remove the screws so that we can disengage the front panel. So that is the first screw. As you see, I've removed this one, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side also. So this is the second screw. Now once these two screws are done, just take the flathead screwdriver and remove this harness. So I was able to remove that wire harness, and now this will come out like this. So my drum is sliding, but that's okay, it will slide little bit, not much. And now you lift this entire panel and it will come out. And look at the mace at the bottom. So I'm just going to clean up all these things, and then I'll show you how to work on the how to access the solenoid valve and test it out. Now let's get familiarized with the three components which we are going to inspect now. One is the dryer igniter, second one is the gas valve solenoid, and the third one is the radiant flame sensor. Now this dryer igniter is basically located near the burner assembly. That is, this is the dryer igniter, and dryer igniter is there are two possible issues with the dryer igniter, and the first one is we have to check whether we see the continuity in this dryer igniter or not. Okay, and the second one is whether the heating filament is damaged or not. So I'm not going to remove this dryer igniter, but just going to check the continuity from these harness wire from this wire harness. So I'm going to just remove this one, disengage this, and just check the continuity in this dryer igniter to see that whether it is in good standing condition. So that is the first check. If dryer igniter is good, then we will focus on the radiant flame sensor. Where is the radiant flame sensor? So this one is the radiant flame sensor. If you see on the back side, that black one which is installed on the flame assembly, right? So this sensor is responsible to send the power to open the gas valve. No gas, no flame, simple. So in my case, when we looked at the beginning, there was a flame, so there is less likelihood possibility that the radiant flame sensor is bad. So for this one also we are going to do the simple check for the continuity. So this is this one. Okay, so now let's assume that we are done with done the check with the dryer igniter issue, and we are done with the radiant flame sensor. Then the next focus is going to be on the gas valve solenoid. That is, this is the gas valve solenoid, and they suggest that when if we have to replace this gas valve solenoid, you should replace both the solenoids. First one is this one, and the second one is on the other side. So for this also we are going to check the continuity, but for this there is not only the continuity we have to check, but we have to check the ohm resistance. So on this side there will be two prongs or three prongs, I don't remember. Once we remove we will come to know. So there will be two prongs and there will be three prongs on this side, or vice versa. I don't exactly remember, but that has to be checked in the gas solenoid valve checking. So that is this part. So these are the three things which we have to check after removing the front panel. Now let's assume that there is no issue with the dryer igniter, there is no issue with the gas solenoid, there is no issue with the radiant flame sensor. Then it is most probably the timer, but we will check on I will cover the timer thing later on. But let's now focus on the first thing, and that one is basically the dry igniter and the dryer igniter, and the dryer igniter is this one. So let me disengage this wire harness, and let's check the continuity. So I've disconnected this wire harness, as you see over here. This was earlier like this. So I've disconnected this wire harness, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the continuity in this dryer igniter. For that I'm going to use the same multimeter. As you see that when I'm engaging these two prongs, you hear that beep. That beep sound indicates that there is a continuity. So I'm going to repeat the same process over here to see that whether I see that beeping sound or not. And if I connect, I see some variation in the numbers, but there is no continuity sound. So what that means is basically there is some issue with this dryer igniter, and because of that I'm just going to first inspect this dryer igniter filament also and dryer igniter by removing this dryer igniter from the assembly. For that I'm going to remove this screw, this nut, and this dryer igniter will come out, this entire assembly will come out outside, and then we can inspect it for the check. Once this check is done, I'm going to check the radiant flame sensor also for the continuity, that one, and then do the same check for the solenoid also. But now most likely the issue is with the dryer igniter. So let's remove that nut, and then I will be able to show you and cross verify once more time to make sure that the filament is filament is gone bad in this dryer igniter, and the dryer igniter is an issue. Now this space is so restricted that you cannot use the nut remover over here. So I have this small tool which will allow me to remove this nut very nicely. Still it is restricted area, but at least I can remove this one without any problem. finally it came out. Let's remove this, and you see this is the filament which I was referring. This is kind of delicate. Now let's check one more time that whether there is a problem with the dryer igniter by checking the continuity. Now looking at this igniter filament, looks like it is not that bad. It is in pretty decent shape and it is not broken, so not sure whether this is the problem, but when I did the continuity it was showing no sound, so I'm just wondering that could be the only reason. But let's check one more time. Let me show you here that what was happening. And see, it shows the continuity when I connect both of them, but when I'm connecting them, it shows some kind of a reading, but not the sound, continuity sound. So most probably this one is gone bad. So I removed the radiant flame center wires also. So these were like this, connected like this, and I'm just going to check the continuity for the radiant flame sensor also. And as you see, there is very nice beeping sound with this radiant flame sensor. So yes, radiant flame sensor is not an issue. So let's connect back these wires the way they were earlier, and we ruled out the possibility that there is an issue with the radiant flame sensor. So there is no issue with the radiant flame sensor, so most probably the issue is with the dryer igniter. We have already now identified one of the suspect is dryer igniter. Now before we go further, let's check the gas valve solenoids also. As I mentioned earlier, there are 3 prongs over here and 2 prongs over here. So let's remove this one, remove this cover or wire harness like this. Just pull it, and now we are going to check the continuity and ohm resistance in this solenoid. Now next part is for this solenoid check. On these 3 prongs and 2 prongs, you have to set your multimeter to 2000 ohms. As you see over here, this is a ohms meter. This is 200 ohms, 2000 ohms, 20k ohms, 200k ohms, and 2000k ohms. So you have to set this ohms meter on 2000. After that, on the 3 prongs, between the left and the middle prong should show the reading between 1300 and 1400. So it is showing 1383, which is good. Now in the second run, you should set your connect your prongs, left and right prong. That is, this is left and this one is right, and it should be between 500 and 600. So as you see, I am getting reading of 572. So 500 and 600. So no problem with this solenoid. Now the same type of test has to be done on the 2 prongs, and in the 2 prongs you should get the reading between 1000 and 1300 ohms. So if I connect these two, it is coming 1293. So it is between 1000 and 1300 ohms. So that means there is no problem with the solenoids, and we can safely now say that the dryer igniter was the issue, because there was no connectivity found when I am connecting these two. When I am checking using the multimeter, it was not showing me any kind of reading. So I'm going to order the dryer igniter, and then after that we are kind of done to reassemble everything. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if none of this works, then probably then next thing you have to do is check the timer. But in my case, this guy is the issue. That is the dryer igniter. Now, after replacing everything and still you face an issue that it is intermittently drying and it is not continuously dry air is coming out, then the issue is with the solenoid valve. Now you must be wondering that why I am saying that, because when the machine is cool and when it is not running, this solenoid is going to give you the false positive result. In our case, when we tested out, it showed that it is perfectly fine. It will behave differently when it is hot, or it is going to malfunction when it is hot. So the best bet is, in that case, is replace this solenoid. It is, I think, 22 or 25 bucks on the net. Just replace them and everything should be fine. So now in our case, I've already installed the igniter. Everything is in place. Now I'm just going to cover this and test out the cycle to see that it works fine. So the front panel is installed, and now I'm going to just start the cycle and see that whether I get the glow and the flame in the dryer, and that's it. And also make sure that before you start the dryer, you switch on the gas to the dryer, which we have shut off before we started working on the dryer. Otherwise you will never see the glow or flame inside the dryer. So the power has been switched on and now gas has been opened up, and I'm just going to start the one small cycle time dry to see that whether I see the glow. And I see the glow. Now it should click and we should see the flame. And as you see, there is a flame, and after some cycle this flame should go away and again we should see the glow. So this if it works, then everything has been working fine now.